Lovely. Cool. Hello. Welcome to the start of the big night in. So, as we said, we're just going to start with doing our end of year update, which is usually sort of a recap of 2023, and then talk a little bit about what you can expect in 2024 as well. So I've tried to go through sort of chronologically what it is that we achieved over the last year. I might miss things out here and there because most of it was based on what I could find on our Instagram and Facebook pages. But I was surprised really of how much we'd done that we'd always wanted to do and how much we'd achieved. That we've spent a long time now trying to get to this stage where we're at. We started 2023 with the first ever officer training session, which was kindly arranged by Kudrat, who had sorted out a location for all of the officers to be able to attend and be in one place over the weekend in the middle of the countryside near Bakewell. So we did sort of like a hike and all that kind of thing. We did a live stream where we were all very, very drunk playing Twister, but I don't think any of it worked because the internet was really bad where we were because we were in the arse end of nowhere. But mainly we did a series of training sessions that we felt we had to do because we actually ended the previous year, 2022, by officially joining UCAF, which was a really big deal and something that I think we're all really proud of to be able to say as UCAF sort of grows and grows. For us to be able to meet that kind of high standard speaks a lot about the effort that we put in to try and provide the best and safest experiences for yourselves. So, as I say, it was split into three sessions, which were done by myself, Dan, and Ewan. The first one was, I think Ewan started, which was essentially about recruitment, what our style is, what it is that we want to attract, and how we can sort of promote best behaviour, best processes in recruitment, and then planning for the future ahead as well. Session 2 was myself, and that was really about the scary, horrible legal stuff. So we talked a lot about public liability, the responsibilities that we have to yourselves, to non-members, anyone who comes and plays at our events, but also a responsibility that we have to the history and to this little niche in the airsoft community that we've somehow managed to obtain a monopoly on, which is cool in itself. And then the third session was run by Dan, and that was more sort of an in-depth about combat awareness and tactics, delegation to NCOs and troops, so that the flow of a fight can just go a lot better and maintain that level of immersion. Once the training session was over, we were able to do another really monumentous thing, and that was officially opening our first ever airsoft site, which is incredible. And I always say to Howard whenever we talk about airsoft, I mean, I'm 30 in my 30s, and I've been airsofting since I was about 14, 15. Totally different game back then, but we always used to talk about wouldn't it be great one day to have our own site, and even if we were on public transport and you went past sort of like some disused land, it'd be like, oh, we could get that land and we do this, we do that. So now, sort of over 15 years later, to be in this position really is mind-blowing and is far beyond what we had initially thought the 1BB would ever be. So huge thanks to Lincolnshire Airsoft Club, huge thanks to John Crust, and huge thanks to all of our members as well. Anyone who took part in anything to do with the site, whether it was build weekends, donations. I specifically remember donations to get in sandbags and to get in fuel for the digger, so that we could have the bare canvas set and ready by having those trenches dug, and then the work of the more complicated work of, okay, so how's this going to work there, and how can we decorate that with set dressing to be more immersive, all of that which followed. And now we're in a position where we have the UK's only dedicated World War One themed airsoft site, which is crazy to be able to say. I mean, there are, as you've probably all seen, following LAC's digging of the original trenches, there's a lot of sites with trenches now. Some of them trenches, some of them ditches, but the idea of how that changes the game has definitely been popularized, and you see it everywhere these days. But I don't think anyone has anything quite like ours. And as I say, for it to be dedicated to the theme is a huge deal, and never seen before, as far as I'm aware. Certainly not in airsoft. It's been a huge boost in our reputation, nationally and internationally. I know that sort of the recognition that we've had off the back of it has been huge. And then it's been a huge boost to all of our sort of combined honour, and to know that we're involved in such a thing is a huge deal. And I mean, I find the 1BB, and I'm sure a lot of you do too, to be a part of it, to be a natural, a privilege. It's enjoyable, it's fun, but to be able to say that this is what we do, this is what we have, this is what we've built, is amazing. And I know for a fact that a lot of people as well that put the 1st Battalion Boys on their CVs now. And I know for a fact that 1BB management, whether it's at NCO officer level, has got people jobs, and which means they can pay wages and hopefully donate to more sandbags. Fantastic! Honestly, breathtaking. Really, really cool, and an amazing start to 2023. And then we made the most of that start with our first ever game when we had Hell's Pond. And everyone who attended Hell's Pond will probably tell you what an amazing event that was. And people who haven't been have probably heard what an amazing event it was. We were highly complimented by members and non-members alike. And more than anything, we were able to really put it to the test. I always used to say about the events we had in the past, whether it was at LAC or whatever sites came before it, every test was like running a game mechanic. So the focus of this event is a particular mechanic. And we're going to see what works about that and what doesn't work about that. And then when it comes to the next event, we'll do the same again, but with a different mechanic. And the next event, we might combine the two and see whether they work alongside. And then Hell's Pond was a case of, okay, well, we've had plenty of time to do our beta testing now, and we will do our utmost to implement it as best we can. And there were learning curves, definitely, and I think there were oversights here and there in terms of comms and things like that. But we were very sort of quick to wing it, if you will, when things did go wrong, and it never broke anyone's immersion. It was hugely successful, and also began the process of understanding those aforementioned mechanics. Understanding, okay, so previously this is what worked, this is what didn't work, but then how do they work in a trench warfare setting? What needs to be adjusted by that? And then to have our site and have this opportunity to be able to amend things or tweak things here and there so that it flows better for the next event is fantastic. It's only onwards and upwards from there. The next thing we did after Hell's Pond was Farm Fest, the first Farm Fest. And all of you who attended that, I'm sure you will recall how incredibly warm it was at times, how incredibly windy it was at times, but also how impressed the public were and how engaged they were. And again, we put everyone to their best capabilities. We had anyone who's in a reenactment group were really sort of heading up how the display tables in the entrance tent were going to look. We had Matthew doing the actual tours, something that he did as a career at the time as well. Again, people were really, really impressed. And we think we made a lot of friends that day as well. I think we left an impression on not just the local community, but the Lincoln community. And we certainly left an impression on LAC, who, as a result of how well we did, donated that tent to us free of charge. And those tents aren't cheap. It's a huge honour. And it really was sort of a realization that things weren't just going well, but they were going really well. And starting to get that recognition was just so humbling, certainly for myself anyway. And Also a good test, like I mentioned earlier, with putting people's talents to the best work. Being able to combine the experiences of the team, of where people specialize, is another sort of beta test again as to how we can keep doing that and how we can keep making that better. And then when FarmFest was over, we had our first night game in the trenches, Eep, which was, again, for years now, I think, Eep in itself, the title and the idea of the event, a nighttime trench game, was something that the 1BB had been dreaming of for years, for a long, long time. And after the success of Hellspawn, it seemed like it was the next logical step where, again, what does work, what doesn't work, what needs to be changed. Now we understand how it works in a trench warfare setting. We need to next understand how does it work in a different environment, in a different atmosphere. Opposing trenches, nighttime, so diminished visibility. And I think it was another huge success. Eep for me was probably my favourite event of last year. I mean, I can only speak from my own personal experience, but looking into No Man's Land and seeing pitch black, and that video that we got out of it that was posted with the tracer rounds when a raiding party went out over to the Onton trenches and the hill, really took my breath away. And I think I've watched that video 100 times the day after Eep alone, and then probably 1,000 times since, because it really gives me chills in terms of that's exactly what we wanted. We got what we wanted from it. Again, huge success, really immersive, and learning how we could adapt it further and implement different role playing and game mechanics. The next big thing that happened after Eep was the team hit 100 members, which is insane. Again, when it first started, it was myself, Howard, Henry, and Nat, just the four of us. Originally, just me and Howard. The concept of the 1st Battalion boys was that we were just going to go to regular skirmishes in World War One kit, and then here we are now, 100 members strong. Absolutely crazy. And I think it helped to start to recognise what it is about us that appeals to potential recruits by hearing how people came to be aware of us and hearing their experiences of joining us as well. Really, really humbling. It did mean that the sort of management of the team became a lot more monumentous for officers and NCOs. But something that I think the first person to describe us as such was Matthew, when he said that we're a sort of a self-sustainable network of people. And despite the hurdles we had in having to manage more members, that idea, the self-sustainable or I can't remember how he described it, self-preserving, I can't remember, self-sustainable I think was right, network of people grew as well. So we had a huge increase in talents when it came to craft, when it came to historical knowledge, when it comes to sort of presentation as well, game mechanics. Pardon me, I've got a really bad cough. All of that grew along with it. And really completely counterbalanced the stress of having more people to deal with, because it meant that, you know, despite that stress, the ability of the team itself grew massively in a huge proportion in comparison. So we also had the next game, which was St. Etienne, which was another incredible first for us. It was a huge landmark achievement because the delegation and event planning and management was all on Ewan's shoulders. I think it was the first event that was not primarily organised by myself, which is a huge relief to me. A lot of stress off my mind. And he was able to source the site, write the game, pardon me, and see it through to huge success. And it got a lot of compliments. And I do think also that branching out to another site while still keeping our association with Lincolnshire Soccer Club was very refreshing for members. A complete change in scenery was really helpful and rejuvenated a lot of players as well, which we always want to do. But But I think it also proved that members, I mean, it definitely did. I know for what's coming for the second half, we talk about next year, it improved how members saw event management. And I think it helped a lot of people recognize that it's something that they can do. And something the 1BB has always intended to do was to nurture the talent that we have among the team. And so we have a lot more people interested in writing or managing or sourcing sites for new events, which is huge. The more people we have who want to put that effort into the growth of the team, the better the team becomes. So really, really happy with St. Etienne and the outcomes that came from it. We've also, I was going to say, improved relations with Hugh Barry, Huff Barry, I don't know, the Battery in Hartlepool, but certainly sustained it and impressed them from the conversations I've had. The continuing relation we have with them is really important for us because it provides us with another outlet for what it is we're trying to achieve as a team. In terms of the historical aspect and the remembrance aspect of it. Our sort of natural good nature and good reputation mean that they are happy to have us and find us pleasant to work with. We did. I think that there was the Christmas one, which unfortunately I missed, but that looked amazing. And before that, there was also, I think there's probably going to be one that I missed, but before the Christmas one, there was one that I did attend, which was the Remembrance Day one, which is a huge honour. And something I never thought we'd be not trusted enough, but well known enough to be asked to do. And if you've seen the video of us all stood around the gun that fired at 11 o'clock on 11th of November at the Battery, it doesn't do justice the feeling that we had when we were there. I felt incredibly honoured to be taking part in that and to provide some kind of representation. We had French uniforms, British uniforms, German uniforms, and I think the general public seemed to really take to that as well. We certainly got asked quite a few questions and scared a boy who, a little boy who was obviously interested in us, but maybe too intimidating in real life. And then the other big landmark to end off the year was very recently, as you all know, was having the World War One Airsoft UK page hit 1,000 members, which is crazy. Again, with only a few days to go before it happened, and just a few more days before Christmas to hit 1,000 members. It was absolutely incredible. And although there is this unlikelihood that you see in all Airsoft community pages that you're not going to have all 1,000 members attend a 500 versus 500 event, the important thing to remember, I think, is that these members, trying to think how I best phrase this, it's the interest that's increased. It's not about having them all attend. It's about the fact that we've managed to not just reach 1,000 people, but have 1,000 people be reached and then say, yeah, click, that's something I'm interested in, and that's something I want to watch, and that's something I might want to do, which opens up a lot of avenues, not just for us, but for World War One Airsoft in general. We do have, like I mentioned earlier, this huge burden of responsibility, or at least that's how I carry it, to the history, to be able to sort of further bring World War One to the forefront of people's minds when it comes to the history, but also the role of Airsoft when it comes to World War One education. There's something that I typed recently for something that Ewan's going to release after this, I think, which when typing it sort of struck home, is that I've heard the numbers in terms of paintball are reducing. I know that paintball sites are now turning to Airsoft because they can't get the numbers for paintball, but they can get the numbers for Airsoft. So that's another huge leap in a potential audience for what we do. But also, I think, I mean, I used to say a long time ago that reenactments die. I don't think reenactment's ever going to die. I think it serves an important part in education. But I think in terms of getting younger people involved in what we do, airsoft is an easier avenue for those people than reenactment is. Pardon me. I'm drinking beer and wine as well. And so as that sort of aspect, the reenactment and the paintball dwindles, if you will, I don't mean that to sound negative, then the airsoft side of things sort of grows, and therefore our responsibility grows too, because what we do is more at the forefront of people's accessibility, if you will. That ends my sum up for 2023, so I'm going to move on to 2024 next, which is probably the bit people are most excited about. I'm just going to have a quick drink of my wine from my special glass. That was a gift to me from Dylan. Just beautiful. And then I need to get my phone ready, and you'll need your phones ready as well, because the first thing that I'm going to talk about when it comes to 2024, I'm going to post an announcement. So I'm just getting that ready now. You'll have to bear with me. Okay. So it's going to your announcements now, or it should be. There it is. So 2024 is the 1st Battalion Boys' 5th birthday. We turned 5 years old on April the 18th, which is incredible. And to celebrate that, the team have paid for 50 special edition 5th birthday patches to be made. They are currently being made, and then they're going to come to me, and then I'm going to hand them out. They're going to be completely free of charge. You don't have to pay for them, but there is only 50. It's a limited run to make it a little bit more special. Guarantee you people are going to start reserving them very, very fast. So if you do want one, the design's on the picture I just put on announcements, and I'll put a picture up on this video if we post it elsewhere as well. Then you need to give me a shout quick. They will be available for collection at Salonika. We're going to try and aim for our first World War I event to be the weekend after our birthday. But the weirdest or the craziest thing to think of 1BB turning 5, the 1st Battalion Boys has now existed longer than the war in France lasted. Because I don't want to go to 1919 and include Russia, but 1914 to 1918, 4 years, 1st Battalion Boys has been around longer than the war itself lasted, which is incredible. It's insane. And again, something that I never thought I would ever. I'm already getting messages to reserve patches. Never something I thought would last this long. And in fact, it wasn't until this year when I got roll my sleeves down. This year where I got the 1BB tattoo, where I was like, oh, okay, this is a big thing now, and we're in it for the long run, and it's going to be around a long, long time. Or hopefully, that's certainly the plan. So, just to reflect on 5 years is not a long time. You think about any period of your life. 5 years is not huge. 5 years ago. 2018? 5 years ago? Yeah, 2018. God, I mean, I think isn't that roughly around when Red Dead 2 came out or something? Maybe it's not a long time at all. And then for us to go from 4 guys in really hodgepodge, thrown together World War I uniforms to what we are now, 100 members strong, representations of nearly every faction that fought. Incredible, and a huge honour. And I'm so grateful to all of you for making this dream this huge thing it is today, this huge community and this huge family, one that is widely well regarded as well. So thank you very much. And as a thank you, as I say, there's 50 patches available. Some of them are already getting reserved. I know officers are reserving them. I'm absolutely reserving them. I might put mine on display in the silo, I don't know. But yeah, amazing. Thank you very much. Grab your free patch. I think they look pretty cool. Pardon me, I'm so sorry for my cough. So, as I say, moving on to the first event of 2024 is looking to be Salonika, the Salonika campaign. Something that we're really trying to do is keep looking at not lesser known, but sort of, lesser known than the Western Front, to be fair, lesser known aspects of the war or fronts of the First World War, just to try and keep those at the forefront of people's minds when they think about the war itself, as a means to honour those who fought all over the world. It'll be back home, it'll be in our trenches, our first event. And it's going to be, because it's a new front, it's a chance for you all to explore different kits. Not saying that you have to go out and buy a full new uniform. I'm certainly not going to do that, but there are little tweaks here and there that you can make to your own, or you can just sort of adjust how it is that you wear it for how it was worn in that campaign. And we're going to use the experiences from Hellspawn and St. Ayan and Ypres, as always, to try and improve how the game is ran and the experience that you get from attending that event. We also expect there to be a second Farm Fest. I've not heard anything about it yet, not 2024 yet, but I fully expect it'll happen again because it was really successful. We want to focus more on the presentation being within the trenches themselves. We can still have stuff in the tent, but I think the tent should be considered more of an entrance. I would really like for the public to have the opportunity to see objects from and learn about the war in that setting, within the trenches themselves, and hopefully talk to more of you who would be willing to do a little bit more teaching and a little bit more acting to provide that service to the people who come and look to learn. So yeah, more in depth in terms of the history we're showing as well would be ideal. Another big one for 2024 is the return of In Country 71. We're coming back to the Vietnam War for another event. Certainly the first event we did in the Vietnam War was a huge success. People really, really loved it. And who are we to say no? It's really enjoyable. It's a change of pace to what we usually do in terms of the weapons that we're using or the toys that we're using. And on the back of the Vietnam Games last year, the owner of LAC's big site really likes us. They like what we do. And obviously the media that comes out of what we do is pretty fucking cool, isn't it? Sorry, Collingwood sent me a picture and I just had to stop to check if it was important, but it is requesting a patch. So we want to make the most out of the fact that they love us at Big Site by hosting more events there. It's going to be a day game. Going to go back to day game for In Country. And we just want it to be bigger and better than the previous two if we can. It's going to further develop with potentially a twist in terms of the first Jungle Rat story, and we are also hoping to widen how much of the site that we use, so that it mixes it up a little bit and also gives us more land to cover. And again, we're going to increase the use of previously successful scripted events in RP. One of the hallmarks of the first game was the comms, how radios worked, kept everything immersive in that the vast majority of you didn't really know what was going on, but everything was planned. The way you were going, what you were walking into or walking out of, and what was going to happen next was all scripted, but you were not to know. There was no way you could have known. And it works. The one thing that I always say, I think when new Josh asked about sort of winning games and stuff like that, it's not about winning, it's about the experience, and that's what we aim to put on for you. So that's one event for the big site. The second event for the big site, and another huge landmark in what we're looking to achieve, is Mons to the Marne, which is big site again, 1914 setting, something we've never done before. So that's a totally different type of World War I combat, huge open spaces. It's also going to be on the 110th anniversary of the First World War beginning. 110 years since 1914. In 2024, we're going to have a 1914 event in commemoration of that. Going back to what I said earlier about how members are more excited and getting more involved in planning events, I think this one is being run by two junior officers, two NCOs. So that's Daniel Conwood and Alex Watkins are really taking the lead on this one. The officers are taking a bit of a step back, sort of providing information where we can and helping in terms of the limits when it comes to insurance and all that kind of really boring stuff that we have to abide to, but law is law. But huge to have non-officers. I mean, before last year it was only me who ran events. This year it was myself and Ewan who ran events with officers, and now junior officers as well, and that opens the gate for other members to start running events as we move forward. We certainly got more talent in our ranks now than we did last year when it comes to exactly that. Really exciting. Another opportunity to play with your uniforms a little bit. Again, you don't have to go buy new uniforms. There's little tweaks here and there, or even just the way you wear them can change. And this crazy open space mobile warfare in which you get to fight in. Other than that, the next event that is absolutely penciled in is another one I'm really excited for, which is Long Since Told, which is a game that has been written over the course of this year by our very own Stephen Gilchrist. Again, a different officer writing and managing an event. I'm hoping that we are going to get that booked in for October. I'd quite like for it to be a Halloween event. It's a return to post-apocalyptic. Post-apocalyptic event is the second theme that the First Battalion Boys ever ran. A long time ago. Before we met LAC, we had that event. So I know that Gilchrist has put a lot of effort into it. It's everything that he's teased. We don't know everything. The officers, we don't know all of it, but everything that he's spoken to us about has been really exciting. If you're a fan of the post-apocalyptic theme in movies, TV, or video games, then that's going to be one that you're going to be very interested in. I'm sure you will experience or come across or hear about something that you will be excited about. It's going to be really heavy on the role-playing, really heavy on the game mechanics, but also an opportunity for you to play fast and loose with your uniforms, which was why it was the second theme that we ever did, because you have your uniforms, it's very strict, and you wear this like this and all that. When it comes to post-apocalyptic, you can sort of be like, okay, well, there's no sort of upper brass in the military anymore. It's post-apocalyptic, so you can wear whatever slung over your shoulder, like it's Battlefield 1, or goggles, and all sorts. Really exciting. Highly recommend that you seek to attend that one as well. That's all I'm going to talk about in terms of events for now. We are hoping to do more, but we haven't hashed out enough of the details for me to go into depth with you yet. But certainly stay tuned, because there's other exciting things that are already being discussed. I'm on my last point now, so we'll end the stream soon. No, sorry, we won't end the stream soon. We'll end the end of year update soon, and then I will go on to the general chat here and start taking some of your questions as well. 2024, and I may have sort of said something along those lines in the past, but really now I have my own office. It's going to be a huge focus for me in 2024 is revamping a lot of the stuff, revamping delegations, how the NCOs operate, how management of the team operates. I want to try, if I can, to bring in the 1-year insurance waiver for members only, sign it for the year, and you're good for events of that year. NCOs have certainly proven themselves capable and are bursting to take on more responsibilities, so we're absolutely going to look into that. Officers are going to delve into the finer management of the team and try and refocus on that. Game mechanics, regulations, in-game roles, all of these things are going to become primary focus once again. It's not a case that we rested on our laurels, but we got our site. And so all the things that we'd worked on developing before, the focus was implementing them. We've had a year of that now. We know what works, we know what doesn't work, we know what could work better. And 2024 is going to be the year where we then develop that so much more, implement new things, or adjust those things that needed to be adjusted. It should be really exciting. In the last month or so, a lot of this stuff's already been discussed by officers and NCOs, and that's the time for action, and it's really exciting. And again, the main focus is just providing a better experience for yourselves. So a lot to look forward to. Hope you're as excited as I am. And that sort of ends everything that I'd written down. So, pardon me, I'm going to open the general chat in here now and start taking your questions. So I'm a very old man, so bear with me while I try and figure this out and start asking your questions as we speak. My phone's still going absolutely crazy with people ordering them patches. So if you've ordered them, you should be okay. Time is running out. I've got the general chat working, and I'm waiting for your questions. So